it appears that we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Mario Loya Show podcast. I'm the host, Mario Loya. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Hopefully everybody out there is doing great. As we speak right now, it's 7:28, the year 2021. It's a Wednesday as well. Kind of late. Usually I like to, these last few weeks I've been kind of having the final cut of the show being made on a Wednesday. Last week was because of audio issues. This week was because I had a whole bunch of stuff I needed to do yesterday. I was crazy busy with meetings, interviews, a bunch of stuff like that. I'm kind of going into a point in my life where I'm transitioning into a new career field. So there's that. And it's really exciting because you get, even though I having a lot of interviews, and it's nice to see how it's very interesting. I guess you should say how interviews kind of pan out. A lot oftentimes, you go to an interview for kind of the same position with a lot of different places, and it's nice to see that some places it's like, yes, the job is yours, 100%. All you have to do is just whenever HR calls you, just accept the position. And another place is always like, even though they need the position is open, and you're kind of the best candidate for the job. I'm not trying to toot my horn there or anything like that. It's just at other places, they've seen my resume and they really enjoyed it, liked it, and it was kind of a no-brainer for some places. While other places is still kind of picking and choosing, I suppose you could say, trying not to, I guess, hype you up so much. But yeah, so it's very interesting and it's very nice to be wanted at a lot of different places. And yeah, so at the end of the day, I'm gonna have pretty much my choice in where I would like to work. So that's very nice. And it's just gonna kind of be a hectic time because I'm still going to college as well. So I'll be working, going to college full time, working full time, and of course doing this show with you guys. So a lot of you may possibly think that, oh, since he's gonna go ahead and be doing college and all this other stuff full time, when is he gonna find time for the show? The show's gonna get canceled, or this is the end, this is the last episode, or the last few episodes. And I'm a firm believer in that if something is important to you, you will always find the time to make it work. And I really love doing this show. It's very enjoyable, even though I have very few listeners out there, and I really appreciate the people who listen, and I appreciate growing something from the bottom up. And so the show's not going anywhere. I'm gonna find a way to make the show happen week in and week out. And the show means a lot to me. I really enjoy coming on here, turning on the microphones, getting everything set, and just ranting into the void. Even though I know that there are people out there listening, which I really do appreciate. It's very fun to me. I really enjoy this, and I'm going to continue to do it, regardless of how busy my schedule gets. So I might come on here and talk shit about work and stuff like that and school, but that's just because I need to. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening to my problems. So that's just a quick update with me, what's been going on. And like I said, I really appreciate you guys listening. It's going to be very interesting to see how this podcast grows, if it grows at all. Who knows, it might stay this size forever. And that's okay too, I'm not in the business of growing something and, making a whole bunch of money off of this show. It's just something that I like and like doing. I like turning on the microphones, and I like giving my opinions to whoever would choose to listen. And if you do choose to listen, I really greatly appreciate that. So that's about it for me. Yesterday, I could have recorded this show yesterday. It just so happened that I wanted to do a little bit more research on some of these topics and possibly find some more topics for the show. Just because it feels like whenever I'm doing the show, we kind of fly through topics. I may have just one topic and I might only spend a minute on it, and then I go to the next topic really quick. And I kind of want to formulate my opinions a little bit better on some of these topics, speak about them a little bit more. And I know it's And I think that's kind of because I'm the type of person who, if as soon as I like to get through all the things I need to get through at once, and instead of kind of slowing down and enjoying the ride. So that's kind of one of my flaws. So got to do a little bit better there. So I know if it bothers a lot of people that I kind of fly through these topics whenever we're talking about them instead of stopping and giving them a little bit more time. I do apologize for that, and that's something I need to do a little bit better at. And so, yeah, you guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. Once again, 2 weeks in a row, I'm here sitting on my bedroom floor because the audio in my office still isn't great. I have a couple of things that I'm receiving actually today that I purchased to help eliminate, or not totally eliminate, but definitely control the echo a little bit more in my office. So as soon as I'm done with the show here, I'm be waiting for the UPS guy, and as soon as he delivers, I'm going straight into designing my office and hanging up some foam panels. So it's gonna be very cool, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it looks at the end of it. I'll probably take a picture and upload it to um, Twitter so everybody else could see where I'm kind of recording from. So if you want to go ahead and follow me on Twitter, it's at the Mario Loya Show podcast on Twitter, and my other Twitter is at Mario Loya underscore 13 as well. So both of those spots, you can also send in questions to the show, any concerns you may have. I'm trying to think what else I need to talk about. Yeah, so hopefully this is the last time I'll be sitting on my floor. I'm sitting right here next to my dog, actually. She's just laying there doing what dogs do. Maybe she'll make an appearance, come over here, ask for a scratch, and then go back to laying around. So, yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the topics. I was looking at, and I think this is the one show, this might be the longest show we actually have. I know the show's kind of been falling between like 35 minutes to like an hour, so we might be here past the hour mark, just looking at all of the things we need to talk about. It's a lot of stuff, so we'll go ahead and jump into the show now. Let's start out with, we'll do the fighting first, and then we'll go from football, and then we'll end with gaming. That's how we'll go ahead and do it. So fighting, obviously, this last week we had TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen in an amazing fight. That was a great fight. I didn't watch that fight card live. I didn't watch a lot of those fights either. I was busy on Saturday as well. Of course, working that night, and the whole weekend I was pretty much working all the way up until yesterday. So I had like no time to go back and watch those fights. I did, however, go back and I watched the Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw, and you'll get what I thought about that fight here later on. But I'll end with that, and then we'll talk a little bit about this upcoming weekend's fights. I will be watching those fights, even though the fight card is kind of lacking a little bit of power, well-known names, I should say. But those cards are always a banger of a cards, and they always tend to have great fighters on that card. So I'm still looking forward to every single UFC event that happens. So before that happens, there's a couple of other topics we need to talk about. Stipe Miocic is unhappy, and this has kind of been the rumor here floating around a little bit, that Stipe Miocic, former UFC heavyweight champion, he just fought a couple of trilogy fights with Daniel Cormier, the great DC, and then after he won 2 out of the 3, he went on and he fought Francis Ngannou, and that was a fight card that I watched live, and Francis just starched him up. I believe he knocked him out in the second round. He could have done it in the first round, but time just so happened to expire, and yeah, so now the question kind of becomes, what's going to happen with Stipe? Do you give him an immediate trilogy fight with Francis Ngannou, which I wasn't a fan of whatsoever? I thought he should possibly go out and fight someone else at heavyweight before he gets another title shot. It just kind of seems like that. I don't want to see him fight Francis Ngannou again because I don't think nothing really is gonna change. In the second fight between him and Francis, um, Stipe shot, of course, and in the first fight he shot um, one legged or double leg takedowns, and he pretty much could get any kind of takedown. In this fight, the scariest thing Francis Ngannou did in that fight was that he showed that he can scramble. That was the scariest thing he's done. Forget the power, forget all the other stuff, because always in the back of everybody's mind was that this guy cannot wrestle. So if he went in there with a wrestler, you know what, he would get absolutely demolished, or he would. There was at least a chance that he would lose. And whenever you saw him scramble like that against Stipe Miocic and saw him raining down those big shots from on top, that was the scariest thing of the whole fight, in my opinion, because that's something we've never seen him do. And that was his one Achilles heel that everybody thought that, hey, if you do this, you have a great chance of surviving, and not only surviving, but beating this guy. And then you see him do that, and then you're like, oh fuck, there's no beating this guy, essentially. And even though in that fight, Stipe Miocic didn't do a lot of the correct things in terms of shooting. The one time he shot, he had his, somebody said, I forgot who said it. I think it might have been Dominic Cruz. He had his head on the wrong side. He was doing he was doing a very lazy job at the takedown stuff, which by that time in that fight, he had already taken quite a few shots to the head, so it might have been more out of desperation than anything, than I'm pretty sure, than him not knowing what to do. So there's that. And going back to the topic of Stipe Miocic being unhappy, he kind of wants an immediate title rematch. He wants the trilogy fight, the third fight with Francis. And he's kind of said that if he doesn't really get what he wants, he would much rather be happy just getting cut by the UFC and going somewhere else. I think he flirted a little bit with ONE FC, which ONE FC's heavyweight division is an absolute joke. They have absolutely nobody over there. So I don't really know what to. If I'm the UFC, what would I do? Would I let arguably the greatest heavyweight champion, not only in the UFC, but pretty much of all time, he's definitely the most decorated UFC champion in terms of title defenses and who's he fought and who's he beat. He has a win over Francis Ngannou. He has multiple wins over DC. He has a win over who did he beat? That steroid guy, Brazilian fellow. I forget, but he has a crazy. He's beat the who's who of the heavyweight division, and even though he's still at the end of his career, do you really want that guy, that person, to go ahead and walk? If I'm the UFC, what I'm kind of leaning towards a little bit more is that, here pretty soon we're gonna have a interim title fight between Gon and Derek Lewis. So let that app happen, and hopefully by the early next year, January, they handle the contract situations between Francis Ngannou and his agent, his manager, or whoever this guy is, and whoever wins between Derek Lewis and Cyril Gane can go ahead and fight Francis Ngannou in January, and then immediately right after there, John Jones is probably, who knows what John Jones is. He's a wild card, but if you're the UFC, you have to operate that he isn't there because he doesn't want to fight because of contract negotiations and stuff like that. So once that happens, then I believe you can go ahead and say, okay, you're up, Stipe. And if the contract negotiations go bad or go south between Francis, then you can go ahead and say, okay, we'll go ahead and that's going to be tough, actually, because I can have the interim title be defended. Usually after somebody wins an interim title, they go ahead and immediately fight the champion for that bout. So it's a very tricky situation. So very tricky, but so in that case, if they can't work it out, then I guess they might have to just strip Francis of the heavyweight title. But I don't know. It's a very complicated thing, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna work it out with Francis. So, Stipe might be still till possibly sometime mid next year. possibly summer of next year till we see Stipe fight again. That would be my guess, maybe. Maybe a little bit earlier, maybe March, possibly, but depending on when the rest of the heavyweight stuff happens, Francis Ngannou and stuff like that. But it's a complicated thing. So yeah, and I love Stipe Miocic. I think he was a great heavyweight champion. He's one of those guys who he was a undersized heavyweight, but he was kind of a little bit too big for 205. Possibly couldn't cut down there, but he was a great fighter, and I feel like he could pretty much beat anybody at any given day at heavyweights, including Francis Ngannou. He was often viewed as Francis Ngannou's kryptonite. Like, okay, yeah, but do you remember Francis Ngannou's knocking everybody out? But yeah, do you remember whenever he fought Stipe, how Stipe made him look, and stuff like that. But so yeah, very tough situation to be under if you're the UFC, and hopefully they work it out because I would still love to see Stipe Miocic fight in the UFC against anybody, and of course I would love to see him try one more time against Francis Ngannou and see how that fight goes. So there's that one, and the rest of the fight card I didn't watch from this past weekend. I was gonna go back and watch some of it, but I kind of saw the gist of it all, and I did happen to go back and I did watch the main event between Corey Sandhagen and TJ Dillashaw. Before I get into that, we got to go over my picks, and that was absolutely atrocious this last fight card. And whenever I make my picks, I try not to pick with my heart. I try to use my head a little bit more, and that didn't work actually in this one. I picked Mickey Gall for some reason, even though he was on the prelims. I don't know why. On Google, whenever you look up Google, it actually showed him as being the opening fight. So I don't know if he got pushed back or if something happened. But Mickey Gall did win. That was my one correct pick that I did make. But yeah. And I picked Maverick. Of course, she lost to Macy Barber. I picked Kyler. Of course, he lost. And I picked Corey Sandhagen. And of course, he lost. And I picked against Darren Elkins. And of course, he won. So, not very good at picking this week, I guess, which is kind of, last week or the week before, 2 weeks ago, I had a perfect fight card. This week I only got one fucking fight right. So that's oopsie, but that's just how it goes, kind of sometimes. If I would have to go back, I would pick the same possibly fighters once again, just because the uncertainty with a lot of those other guys. Uncertain with how BC Barbers would have looked. Of course, even though her back was against the wall, she's coming off of two losses, and she was going up against an absolute tank of a woman in Miranda Maverick, who I really liked. Darren Elkins, once again, one of those guys who's getting up there in age. Not sure what he can do at this stage of his career. TJ Dillashaw, same thing, coming off of 2 years suspension and going in there and fighting an absolute stud. And Corey Sandhagen, and it was very complicated. So it just happened that those fighters that had their back against the wall absolutely came out and did what they had to do. So congratulations to all of them. I'll try to take that into consideration next time I make picks. But anyway, yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about the main event, the fight that everybody's kind of seemingly talking about, including TJ Dillashaw's former mentor, former coach, the great Uriah Faber. Uriah Faber was on, I was listening to the show possibly 2 weeks ago. He was on Submission Radio, and they talked to him a little bit about TJ Dillashaw, and he felt he was pretty, from what I got from that interview, Uriah Faber was pretty much, he was content with TJ Dillashaw. He thought that, he praised TJ Dillashaw for how tough he was, which of 100%, he was a tough motherfucker in that fight. You can take all the steroids you want and stuff like that, but steroids don't make you tougher. They don't make you tougher. And TJ Dillashaw is a tough motherfucker. For the majority of that fight, he had a nasty ass cut on his eye. And shout out to the refs and shout out to the doctors for not stopping that fight whenever they could have absolutely stopped that fight, because that was one of the most nastiest cuts I've ever seen in the UFC that didn't get stopped. So that's a borderline cut. So good job on the refs, good job on the doctors for that. And back to your Uriah Faber. He was saying yes, he's praising him, and he looked pretty sharp, kind of sharp. He didn't look like the best TJ Dillashaw I personally ever saw. Um, but Uriah Faber, um, he was kind of hinting a little bit about that. I believe he told them that he knows kind of essentially where all the bodies are buried. He knows so much stuff about TJ Dillashaw, that kind of came out. He said after he left that he learned all the stuff, which you can make up your own things that possibly Uriah Faber did know about some stuff that was going on while TJ was there at Alpha Male. But let's go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt, saying that he didn't know about any of this stuff until later after he had left Alpha Male, and all this stuff happened. So he just kind of left it at that. That he knows a lot about TJ Dillashaw, and he knows that this EPO incident isn't the only time that he actually used performance enhancing drugs. He kind of said he talked a little bit about TJ, saying that TJ struggled to break the 143 pound threshold, in the sense that he couldn't put on muscle. TJ's a very small guy, and he's kind of a little bit in between guy, way too big for 125, but undersized at 135. And so putting on muscle for him was very, very valuable. And so he kind of also said that, which I didn't agree with, saying that there's a difference in cheating between whenever your mindset is to cheat because you don't believe in yourself, and the mindset to cheat to gain a competitive advantage because you look at your own weaknesses and you take something in order to make up for those certain weaknesses, whether it may be like God-given talent, whether it may be in TJ's case, he kind of always hints at the fact that TJ always looked at himself and Cody Garbrandt as having much more God-given talent, in the sense of they were much more athletic in certain things than TJ was. So he believed that he took those to make up for those weaknesses. I don't agree with that. Cheating is cheating at the end of the day, and you are a coward if you cheat, especially in a combat sport. This isn't cheating to go ahead and I'm gonna cheat so that way I can hit this ball farther. It's not like that. It's a combat sport. You're cheating in order to possibly hit somebody harder in the face, or to go ahead and out train a guy. And yeah, so I'm never going to be a fan of anybody who cheats in any way, in the sense of taking performance enhancing drugs. I'm never going to be a fan of them. And TJ Dillashaw, I'm never going to be a fan of him. I hate his fucking personality, and I hate the fact that he did what he did. So let's go ahead and talk about the fight a little bit more. And so that's kind of the gist that I got from the Uriah Faber interview. He kind of said that it's a whatever. There's kind of time has gone by, so there's not really too much bad blood between himself and TJ Dillashaw. But he said, at the end of the day, it all depends about who you want around you, and do you want this guy who's kind of almost you're uncertain about, the guy who you can't really trust be around you in your life, which made a ton of sense. So he just kind of said, it is what it is, and you choose who you want to be around you, and your family as well. So yeah, so very wise words there from Uriah Faber. Back to the fight. I had the fight going, at the end, I had the fight going towards Corey Sandhagen. I thought it was 2-2 going into the fifth round, and the fifth round, of course, Corey Sandhagen won. The fight was very close, so you can go ahead and say, mark it up, or say that anybody could have won that fight, which I agree, And I was looking over the scorecards, and the fourth round, which I believe Corey Sandhagen won, and 2 of the 3 judges also had it for Corey Sandhagen. One of the judges that had TJ Dillashaw winning gave that 4th round to TJ Dillashaw. And the story going into the main event fight was that these judges were doing a pretty weird job on judging. It's a roller coaster in terms of judging. What you're gonna get. Possibly gonna get pretty good judges or pretty bad judging. And this wasn't the best judging we've seen. And if that one judge had have scored that fight correctly, he would have had Corey Sandhagen, or that round correctly, he would have had Corey Sandhagen winning that fight. So it just goes to show that just one judge messing up one round can have monstrous effects on how a fight turns out. But nonetheless, we're not here to kind of bitch about stuff like that. TJ won, very razor thin close fights, and I think if they run it back, I think Corey Sandhagen would win again. Would win. But TJ Dillashaw, he didn't look. He kind of came out in the first round. The first round, he looked phenomenal, but then after that, he stopped doing his, switching his stances so much. He kind of relied very heavily on his ground, or very heavily on his grappling. And Corey Sandhagen was just, he couldn't really stop TJ from grabbing a hold of his back and taking him to the cage. Once ever he got there, TJ couldn't take him down. But still, I'm pretty sure the judges rewarded him for, controlling Corey Sandhagen for that amount of time. And Corey Sandhagen, I think he landed the cleaner shots throughout the fight. Much more of the ooh shots and the wow, he snapped his head back, were coming from Corey Sandhagen. He busted open TJ Dillashaw, and even though that was kind of a pre-existing cut there that TJ was having trouble with throughout training camp, still at the end of the fight, Corey Sandhagen's face looked clean, and TJ's face looked an absolute mess. So I don't really know. I think if TJ Dillashaw fights Piotr Yan, which I think Piotr Yan is the best 135er on the planet right now, I believe Piotr Yan would stop TJ Dillashaw and wouldn't have too much trouble with TJ. My opinion. And but it's still very good to have TJ in the division. He provides a pretty good name. And it just, the 135-pound division is absolutely stacked from top to bottom. You have Sean O'Malley there, Corey Sandhagen, TJ Dillashaw, of course Piotr Yan, Aljamain Sterling. Crazy, just that, and that's just the very top of the division, I believe. Sean O'Malley, you can put him kind of anywhere, but he's still, he's a guy that a lot of people know in that division, definitely. So, yeah, so the 135-pound division is going to have a lot of great fights coming up, and that's one of the better divisions in the UFC. Might be the best division in the UFC. If you also count in the 155-pound division, possibly, but I still think 135 might barely edge out 155. But yeah, so that's the fight card for this week. Let me see if I make sure I'm not missing anything. I don't believe so. Nah, we got it all. We covered it all. And so that's that. And for this upcoming fight, I guess I can make my picks right now for this upcoming week. Excuse me. Let's see. Yeah, let's just go ahead and make these picks now. Let me find a fucking pen. Here it is. So, first fight. Ryan Barberena versus Jason Witt. I will take Barberena. Unanimous decision. Next fight is Ryan Bennett versus, what is this name? Zarayuk Adeshev. I will take Ryan Bennett. Then we have Niklas Stoltz versus Jared Gooden. We'll take Stoltz. Cheyenne Baez versus Gloria de Paula. We'll take Baez. Kan Kayung Ho versus Ronnie Yaya. All right. Okay, I'll take Yaya. I'm familiar with Yaya. And for the main event, we have Uriah Hall versus Sean Strickland. And, I feel like Uriah Hall is such a fucking freak of a guy that if he believed in himself a little bit, he would be champion one day. Sean Strickland is a up and coming kid who has a lot of hype behind him. This is a tough fight to pick. I kind of want to pick Uriah Hall, but I've been so unimpressed with his career so far that it's a very much a turn off. So I'm gonna pick Sean Strickland, and I would not be surprised whatsoever if Uriah Hall, comes out and looks like an absolute animal and dominates Sean Strickland in that fight either. But yeah, so that's the upcoming fights for this weekend. Okay. See, I just got a notification from UPS. So yeah, so that's all the fighting stuff. And looking at the time, we're already 30 minutes in, so we still have a ton of stuff to cover. So yeah, like I said, bunch of stuff. Let's go ahead and jump into the football stuff. And first up, not an NFL topic, but still a very important topic in the football world. Texas and Oklahoma very well are going to be leaving the Big 12 and are going to make the jump to the SEC. Wow. And, whenever you look at the Big 12, and you may say, what's the one thing you may, whenever you think of the Big 12, I think of the Red River rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma. And now that both of those teams are going to the SEC, a lot of people were saying that here in a couple years, that, excuse me, my dog's leaving, that it's going to be pretty much just a big three conferences, where there may be, the SEC, ACC, and the Big Ten. What do they call themselves? Big 12? Big 10? Whatever up there. And who knows where it may go. This is 100% a money issue. So just kind of, I don't know what to think about this, because I'm pretty sure if you ask the coaches, they would both say, let's just stay at the Big 12. Because it's an easier path to a college football playoff. Absolutely 100%. And going into there, I don't really know if either Oklahoma or Texas, 1 week playing Georgia, next week playing Florida, the next week playing Texas A&M. If you can go through that gauntlet and still kind of come out on top, I don't really know if those two programs are kind of built like that, if those two teams are kind of built like that. Alabama is used to doing this, going into every single game of their SEC schedule and being the favorites and beating these SEC teams. So, come lay down. Come on. Not right now. In a little bit, okay? Sorry, my dog wants to go outside. I'm going to go ahead and pause real quick. All right, I'm back, and sorry, the puppy needed to go outside. She's so needy. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, SEC stuff. Yeah, so that's kind of what I kind of think a little bit there. I'm not the biggest college football fan. I watch occasionally, but I kind of watch more for these are going to be some of the guys who are going to be playing on Sunday, stuff like that. So interesting to see what's going to happen with the rest of those Big 12 teams, whether they're going to go ahead and join, the ACC, or they're going to go ahead, which I don't think, because the ACC, I think, is like at 14 teams, and I think getting way too big is very, very bad. But I want to see some of these fucking teams get kicked out of these conference. Kick out Vanderbilt. Why the fuck is Vanderbilt in there? They go ahead and they just take the money and they do not invest it whatsoever into their football program. So why the fuck is Vanderbilt there? So let's go ahead and start a trend of kicking out these very shitty ass teams that give two shits about football out of the SEC. And yeah, so that'll be cool. That's kind of what I thought of, was like, why you're adding teams, but let's get rid of some of these shitty ass teams that can give two fucks about football, but want to absolutely 100% take the money from the SEC. So yeah, so that's the one college football topic. Next up, we got Joe Burrow cleared to do everything in camp. So of course, last year Joe Burrow was going through an amazing rookie season. He tore his ACL and his season got cut short. So going into this season was that he was going to go ahead and um, how his status was going to be going into the season, going into camp, and it shows that he's cleared to do absolutely everything. Surgery went well, and I'm glad because I think Joe Burrow, even though he's in my Pittsburgh Steelers division, he's going to be a very talented quarterback for years to come. And I think the city of Cincinnati absolutely deserve a good quarterback. You know, of course they had Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer was great, but still, and I feel sorry for Joe Burrow a little bit. You're kind of there in purgatory and with Cincinnati, but nonetheless, he's going to be there, and I love watching these young quarterbacks turn into studs. So happy for Joe Burrow. Glad everything is going good. Very happy for his health, and excited to see what he's going to do this upcoming season. Deshaun Watson reports to camp to avoid 50K fine daily. So back in the day, um, if you were missing training camp days, you were still fined 50K, but teams could go ahead and waive those penalties. However, now with a collective bargaining agreement, teams can no longer waive those. So for every day you miss, that's 50K fine, which 50K is a fucking monstrous amount of money. A monstrous amount of money. So if I were going to go ahead and hold out, I would be you're kind of forced to hold out for the whole year. Because how the fuck are you gonna come back and miss, say you miss 5 days? That's close to $1 million of fucking fines. No, that's only 250,000, but still a monstrous amount of money to be fined for missing training camp days like that. So crazy stuff, of course, and it's kind of weird because you have a quarterback who's there who is going through some legal troubles in the sense with all these sexual allegations levied against him, and it kind of seems that he's getting those things taken care of. But you still have a very talented quarterback there who does not want to play for your team. And I'm a person who, if whether it's Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers, who we're going to talk about here in a second, if you're unhappy with the team, why don't you come out and say it every single fucking day? Make a storm brew. If I was them, I would, every single time a microphone was put in front of my face, I would say, this organization is a joke and I need to get out of here. I don't want to be here. I despise this person. I despise this person. Get me out of here. That's the quickest way to get out of there. Okay? Make everybody's life a living hell until they get rid of you. You know, that's what you have to do. But people are so scared of what their image is going to look like that I don't know, but it's just it's whatever, you don't want to be there anymore, so why do you care about burning bridges on your way out? So that's my thing. I'm pretty sure with Deshaun Watson, with all his legal troubles, they're gonna try to avoid any freaking interviews as they possibly can. Avoid any questions. There are gonna be a lot of no comments in terms of these allegations levied against Deshaun Watson, which are absolutely disgusting. And also in the video game world, we're also gonna have to talk about some similar stuff here later on with Activision and Blizzard. But yeah, so that's how I would kind of go about it. Make up storm. Attack people, and go ahead and just do that instead of being this whole, well, I don't want to be here. I just I don't want to talk about it. I've said my piece, even though you haven't really said so much, too much stuff. But yeah, so try to find your way out of there. That I would respect you so much more if you would kind of do that instead of playing the nice guy role. But yeah, so there's that. Aaron Rodgers also reports, and he kind of himself and Devontae Adams posted the same picture was Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, kind of the last dance kind of sort of thing. And I believe Aaron Rodgers is going through a contract negotiation where after this season he's gonna pretty much be able to move on from the Green Bay Packers. And okay, good for Aaron Rodgers. You're finally getting it out. Um, I didn't like the picture at all because I think you would have to do a little bit more. Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, they won fucking 5 titles before they did the whole Last Dance sort of thing with the problems that they were having with their GM. And here with Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers has won one Super Bowl. Devontae Adams has nothing. You know, fly. So I believe you have to do a little bit more in order to kind of compare yourself to Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, in my opinion. But nonetheless, if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, you're probably gonna have one more season of Aaron Rodgers, and who knows how he's gonna look this season. He's getting up there in age. Of course, yes, last season he won the MVP, but this season he could completely fall off. But he could win another MVP, and then you're kind of back at square one if you're Aaron Rodgers, because I don't really know if the Green Bay Packers want to move on from an MVP type of player. I hate these dogs next door. But yeah, so interesting seeing there. So it's kind of seeing that both Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson are actually going to end up playing for the teams they don't want to be playing for this coming season, even though they did sign contracts, and you are responsible for honoring those contracts, regardless of who you are. So that's my 2 cents of that stuff. That's all the football stuff there. I thought I had more football stuff, but I suppose not. Yeah, that's all the stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into the gaming stuff on EA live show. EA of course had their live show last week, and we saw EA purchase Codemasters. Codemasters is a racing game, and it's whatever. I'm not a big fan of racing games. Their EA show was all around, I think, a pretty boring ass show, which I wasn't expecting so much. So that's why I didn't even go back and watch the show later on. I just kind of took the bullet points of what was shown there that I thought were interesting that I wanted to talk about, and that was that. But so they did make a purchase. They did make an acquisition. I believe 2K also wanted Codemasters. EA just happened to outbid them. So congratulations to EA and Codemasters, I guess. I'm not a big racing fan, so I really could care less about um, this acquisition. But yeah, and then the other thing that they showed that was really interesting was a Dead Space remake. I never played these games. Whenever Dead Space came out on Xbox 360, I was extremely young. So I didn't play those games, and I never gone back and I played those games. Possibly now I will go back and play those games. I've been hearing a lot of, you know, Mass Effect. Those kind of games are games that I really missed out on just because it were right about the time before I could really start to afford to buy some of my games. And now with the Mass Effect trilogy, I possibly will play that one day as well. I'm kind of waiting for that to go to EA Play because I don't have any desire in buying those games right now. So yeah, and then there's that. That was pretty much it for the show. So the whole Dead Space remake is gonna be coming out. Who knows how that will be? Hopefully would be pretty good. Because Dead Space is kind of my jam, my kind of games. I love these horror games, and I love getting freaked out. So it kind of feels like this should you have to completely shit the boat in order for me not to like this. So very low hurdles for them to cover, for me, I should say. So, but yeah, so very interesting there, and good to see. I've listened to a lot of shows, and a lot of people are so excited about Dead Space coming back and coming back in a remastered version. This is a remastered, not a remake, not like Mass Effect Legendary Edition. This is a completely build from the bottom up, and it's going to be next gen only. It's going to be only available on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. So that'll be cool to see. Possibly won't be seeing this game for a couple of years. I think possibly by the earliest we'll see it is the year 2023 at the earliest. So yeah, so there's that. That's the EA stuff. I've been kind of missing on telling people what I've been playing for these last couple of weeks. I don't know if I kind of have a script and I tend to follow it and I forget to write that down. And I'm like, I'll remember. But even though I never do remember telling people what I've been playing. So in the time since I believe the last time I said what I was playing, been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. Still haven't finished it. I'm pretty close. I'm on like chapter 11, and I believe there's only 15 chapters in that game. So playing that. Eventually, I'll finish that game. I've been playing. Oh, Dying Light, the first game. I've had this game for a while. I never went back and I finished it. And since Dying Light 2 is coming out at the end of this year, I really wanted to go back and play it, and it's a very good game. It's possibly not going to be a game that I finish right now, the first Dying Light, just because there's so much stuff I want to play right now. So even though I'm playing it, it's not a very long game. I think if you just play through the main story, it's like 15 hours, and I'm quite a few hours in, possibly like 4 or 5 hours in. So who knows if I'll finish this game. I'm very bad at finishing games, so I've been playing that. A little bit of Fortnite, a little bit of Call of Duty multiplayer. What else have I been playing? I just downloaded that game Death's Door. I'm gonna talk about Death's Door here in a little bit, or I guess I possibly could talk about it now. And a lot of people have been saying some great things about Death's Door, and it's only $20, and it's exclusively to Xbox. So I thought it was a game that actually was gonna be on Game Pass for some reason. And whenever it wasn't, I was kind of like, okay, well, let me just look at reviews to see what the game is a little bit. And it's almost like a Dark Souls sort of game. There's only one level difficulty. Quite a few people have been saying that the game, even though there's only one difficulty, and even though it is kind of difficult, you still, it's not so difficult where it's unplayable or it's very frustrating like these Dark Souls games or these From Software games. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to. I'll probably play that a little bit tonight and see. I'll probably beat it before next week's show. And yeah, so I recently got that game. What else have I been playing? There's quite a bit of games. I just can't think of them right now. I've been trying out Sekiro, but that game's so fucking hard. I just deleted it. I had that game for quite a while. I got it for free from GameStop because they fucked up on one of my orders. I got the game like fucking like 2 months after I was supposed to get it. It was just kind of lost, and then just one day it just so happened to randomly show up at my fucking mailbox. So I was like, okay, cool. After I got my refund for the game because they didn't know where the package was. I didn't know where the package was. They didn't provide the right shipping stuff, so they just refunded it. And then like 2 months later, it was fucking in my mailbox. So it was a free game, so I decided to go ahead and try it out. Crazy ass hard game. I was very frustrated with the game, so I decided I'm not gonna be playing this game anymore. I want to go. Not for me. I don't like these kind of games where you can't change the difficulty on stuff. So there's that. I was also tried out. Been playing a little bit of Gears. What else? Gears 5. I still haven't completed the campaign for that. And I believe that's it. I can't really think of anything else which I've been playing at the moment currently. But yeah, so that's Death's Door, what I've been playing. So last week or 2 weeks ago, I believe, there was the announcement of the Steam Deck. This kind of little handheld portable computer game that you can play your computer games on. You can use it as an emulator. You can put Windows on there and play Game Pass games on there. All this kind of stuff. So, okay, really cool. I didn't talk about it last week because I honestly didn't really care about it whatsoever. I didn't care about the Steam Deck whatsoever. So that's kind of why I left it off. I was just like, why would I speak about something that I don't really care to really talk about or to know anything about? However, it seems like everybody was talking about this thing, and I didn't want to be like, well, I don't want to just ignore something just because I don't like it, just because I have zero interest in it. So I guess we could cover it a little bit. And good thing I held off, because since then I've seen a lot of people getting turned off by the game. Excuse me, by the console, kind of saying that it's only going to be running at 30 frames. It's the controllers are in a very, the thumbsticks are in a very awkward place. And, I wasn't a big fan of the Switch. However, I believe the Switch controllers, holding the Switch, may be more comfortable than holding one of these Steam Decks. For the Switch, I had this little thing that I bought from GameStop where it actually extended out the handles, so it felt like whenever you're holding a Switch, you're holding a controller a little bit more, like a classic controller on the ends. So that helped out with me holding the Switch. And for this thing, I'm not a big handheld gamer, so there's that. Whenever I'm out and about, I'm not thinking about playing games constantly. Whenever I'm at home in front of my nice 4K TV with my Series X playing natively, that's whenever I want a game. I could give two shits about gaming um, on my phone. I could give two shits about gaming while I'm at the dentist. Give two shits about gaming whenever I'm at the doctor's, while I'm waiting in line, while I'm on a road trip. I could give two shits about gaming then. Okay? So so this isn't really my kind of thing. And for this stuff, I believe their sales are pretty much only going to be pretty front loaded. So the people who are going to get these Steam Decks, pre-order them, I believe that's going to be the initial bulk of most of their sales. I don't see them I don't really know about this stuff. So we'll see whenever it comes out. Um, I'm definitely for sure not going to get one. Like I said, I have no interest in this stuff. But I still felt like I needed to come out here and talk about it. They range kind of from like a $400 to $500 all the way to like the best one with the most memory with all the bells and whistles is gonna be like six something. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, that's the Steam Deck. My opinion on the Steam Deck. And just recently, for the month of June, Xbox, next topic, I should say, Xbox has the best sales in company's history, dollar wise. So in the month of June, they didn't sell the most consoles. Switch did, but from a dollar perspective, they outsold both the PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch. So it might have been just one of those things where I'm pretty sure it was just one of those things where they had more stock than PlayStation 5. So, and of course, the Xbox Series X is more expensive than like the Nintendo Switch, either version of them. So that's kind of was why they outsold Nintendo there as well. But these like console sales and stuff like that, I really could care less about them. I'm not very interested in um yeah, like you can tell I'm very negative Nancy. I can care less about um console sales and stuff like this, and how much company makes, and is it the best month for a company, all this stuff. I could care less about this stuff, because I don't give a damn if a company makes money on whatever they're doing. What matters to me is that I'm getting the best out of the money I invest into whatever I choose to invest it in. That's me. Um, and I think a lot of consumers should also be that same way. Don't hold. I'm gonna continue to preach it. Don't hold. Don't be loyal to a specific brand just for the sake of the brand. These brands, these companies, whenever they look at you, all they see is dollar signs. They can give two shits about your opinions. All they care about is the money you're gonna give them. All they care about is, yes, possibly they have very nice customer service like over at Microsoft, but all they care about is not breaking that relationship, so that way you can come back and you can think of like, oh, I remember they were so nice to me when I'm doing this, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna buy this next Microsoft product. Shit like that. Okay? That's all they care about. That's all they care about. They view you as a dollar. All they care about is you continuing to come back and giving them money once again. That's all they care about. That's all they care about. Sorry. I like to rant. Okay, so is Game Pass always going to be around? This is an interesting topic. I stole this from a show. I thought it was an interesting topic, and I thought I want to talk about that. So, is Game Pass always going to be around? Is Game Pass profitable? All this other stuff. Okay, if if Microsoft is losing money on Game Pass, I give two shits about that. I really do. If it's one day they decide that, hey, you know what, we're not making any money off this stuff right now, off of Game Pass, so we're gonna stop doing Game Pass and we're just gonna go back to the traditional buy your games from us, $60, $70 games, and that's that. Okay, that's good. Okay, I can give two shits about that at the end as well. Because right now, Game Pass is so worth it that I'm willing to invest. Give them $15 a month, and if you don't think that they're making a ass ton of money off of Game Pass each and every month, I think that all you have to do is do the math. So if they're charging everybody, let's just say, for the sake of doing the math, Game Pass is $10 a month, and let's say they have 20 million subscribers. So 20 times 10. So let me fucking find my calculator. Can't even do math right now. I'm so pissed off. I don't even know why I'm mad. But anyway, so let's just say that they're bringing in possibly 200 million from Game Pass a week. Just doing they're getting, if that's every from a month, excuse me, that's every single month that they're getting your $10 a month from 20 30 million subscribers. So that's every single month they're getting that money. So to say it's not profitable is just saying like Netflix isn't profitable or stuff like this. They're raking in money. They're bringing in money, and even if it's not, who gives a fuck? It's no skin off my back. It's nothing like that. If Game Pass goes away tomorrow, okay, you know what? We're back to square one. We're back to the stone age of paying for everything, upfront, and sales copy and unit copies, stuff like that. But I don't care if it's profitable or not. It's not my money that I'm losing out on. It's a great deal for us. Great deal for us. Battlefield Portal. I'm freaking hot. Let me turn on the air. Battlefield Portal. So Battlefield 2042 is coming out this holiday season. And this holiday season, I'm not a fan of this game whatsoever. I'm not going to buy it day one whatsoever. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to vote with my dollars and say I'm not interested in a $70 game that has no campaign and stuff like this. I'm kind of tired of these shooting games and stuff like this, and I'm not a big fan of EA either, so I'm not going to go ahead and invest my money with them. It's not day one. If it comes to Game Pass, sure, I'll do that, but I'm not interested in it right now. So at the EA Play, they announced Battlefield Portal. So what this basically is that you can go back and while you're playing Battlefield 2042, you can go back and play some of these iconic maps from previous Battlefield games, whether it be Battlefield Bad Company, all this other stuff. So that was just the kind of gist that I got from it. So that seems pretty cool. Having a bunch of maps is always fun. There's nothing more annoying than whenever you get a game and you're playing the same couple of maps over and over and over and over and over again. That's no fun really. So the more maps, the larger the maps, the better off, it may be, the better off it is for us. So that's cool. That's very interesting for people who are going to be buying Battlefield 2042. And who knows, maybe I might go back on my word and actually fucking play these games. Buy the fucking thing day one just because a bunch of my friends are playing it and I want to be one of the boys. Anyway, so last topic here. Activision is sued over frat boy work culture. And some of the allegations are gender discrimination, pay discrimination, because of somebody's a woman, and sexual harassment. Oh my god. So I feel like a lot of people have been dragging Activision and Blizzard for quite some time this week, and they 100% deserve it because this is 100% unacceptable. And I don't believe we should give a pass to Activision either, even though this is kind of, they're being sued by the state of California for some of these actions, for their actions. It's up to the people in charge to also monitor their employees and make sure they're doing and not doing what they're supposed to, or make sure they're not doing what they're supposed to, what they're not supposed to do. Yeah, makes sense more. So Activision also gets a great deal of blame here as well, because you put the people in charge there who are to oversee these employees, and it's so disgusting and all this stuff. And I will not be buying ever possibly another Blizzard game in my life, which doesn't really matter because I possibly wouldn't either, because all their fucking games suck now. They've honestly been just bowing down to China. They've been doing all this other bullshit that I don't want to get into right now, but their games absolutely suck, and I have zero interest in playing ever a Blizzard game, and this was just a nail in the coffin for me in terms of playing a Blizzard game. And now I'm kind of also thinking about not buying an Activision game either. Fuck Activision, and this is just, it's so disgusting, and it's just so like, I can feel for the people who are there. So not only not buying, does it affects a lot of things. So if their sales struggle, they're going to be laying off a lot of people that don't deserve to be laid off, and they're going to essentially be the scapegoats of this whole situation here. So it's a very tricky situation because I feel for those people, and this is just, it's so disgusting and it's so messed up. And I feel for these ladies. I feel for these people who suffered because of this stuff. And these allegations are very serious. These allegations are going to come with not only a lot of fines, but also jail time, prison time. So this isn't acceptable, and whatever comes to them, we kind of talk about what happened with Ubisoft, and this is 100% worse than whatever happened over at Ubisoft. And I don't mean to tend to say that what happened to Ubisoft wasn't that important. No, it was also very disgusting, and this is just so horrible. And whatever comes to Activision, they 100% deserve it. And I'm just so enraged right now. I can't even formulate a sentence at the moment currently. I don't know if it's also because I'm talking about this stuff and I'm also very fucking hot right now sitting in my hot ass room. But yeah, so Activision, it's Blizzard, whatever comes of all this stuff. Jez Corden, if you didn't watch the Xbox 2 podcast, go ahead and go watch it. And he has a great rant about this stuff. He's very knowledgeable about this stuff, much more knowledgeable than I am about it. And, yeah, so just see what happens. And, I believe right now they're kind of over at Blizzard. They've stopped all production of games and stuff like that. So, which, fuck, I give two shits about Blizzard now. Yeah, so you guys, that's the show pretty much. Double check, make sure I didn't miss out anything. Yeah, that looks like it's everything, you guys. So yeah, thanks for watching the show. I know it was a very emotionally charged show with me ranting about a lot of different stuff, and I really, really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to the show. We made pretty good time with all the stuff we covered. We're just a little over an hour. And thank you guys so much. So if you guys want to go ahead and follow the show at the Loya Show Podcast, you can do that. You can also add me on Twitter. It's at MarioLoya_13 as well. And thank you guys so much for watching the show. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for sticking with me. We're going to try to get this thing being made more on a regular occasion, whether it may be, on a specific day each week, so that way everybody knows that, okay, this day I know for sure their podcast is going to be there. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Peace.